That means a new topic. Now this one, we're looking at numbers. We're keeping it very simple and concise. There's only 2 lessons for now because with this, these 2 methods are essential. And they're going to take a little bit of extra effort before, during, and after to really make sure that you can implement this in any given situation. So let's take a look at the major system. So our promise is you'll understand the history, science, and the application of the major system. Now I know in week 1 we looked at all the memory techniques that we were going to use. However, we didn't touch upon this only because its relevance is only in numbers. So before we get into it, something you need to do. Now, of course, yes, you can cheat in this exercise, but you're only cheating yourself at the end of the day. I want you to remember these numbers. You're going to be shown digits of numbers on your screen for about 30 seconds. Okay, and then after 30 seconds, we'll see how much you've retrieved. Now, you can't write it down. Feel free to use any memory technique you can think of, and then pause the video, give yourself 30 seconds, and come back to it. Okay, ready? We'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Feel free to pause the video and time yourself 30 seconds. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you paused it and didn't spend longer than 30 seconds and you haven't cheated. Recall the numbers in sequential order. See how many you can get. Write it down because we're going to come back to this. I'm going to show you how I would tackle the series of numbers and how you will in the future. So the learning points for today, we're going to be looking at the history of the major system itself, and how combining visual images and storytelling will, of course, at the beginning take time, but how powerful it really is to remembering long digits of numbers. So the history. Major Bowinsky. Now try and pronounce that name. He did not actually create the major system. In fact, he only developed upon it by a French scholar and the inventor of the numerical memory technique. What Major did, he developed this into a modern version that could be used in real world and was developed in the 1900s. So it's been around for quite some time and not a lot has changed. So how does the major system actually work? What it looks at using continents and associating them to numbers 0 to 9 to be specific, not using vowels, and you'll see why is because we put vowels in between to form words, images. So only consonants, and also they all have some sort of association for you to remember them. There's no memory technique here, but what you will need to do is remember this structure. If you can remember this structure, you'll be fine. So this will be the longest and probably the most difficult part of the system. But I'm going to help you the best I can. So 0. When you see 0, think of the letter S. It's soft. If you think like a snake biting its own tail, you know it goes round and bites itself, making that 0 shape. 1. Now there's 2 options you can go with, the D and T, because they have 1 stroke in the letter. 2, N, because it's got 2 strokes. You're starting to see patterns now. 3 is M, because it's got 3 strokes. 4, because it ends in R, so the method uses R. 5, now when I was looking at this, I was like, 5, well, what reminds me of the letter L? So with some of these, you're going to have to come up with it yourself, but for me, 5 alive, so I think of L, live. 6 is J, and if you picture the J, if you connect it, it looks like the 6, if you flip it round. 7, interestingly, if you put 2 7s, you can actually really make a K by modeling it about. 8 is F, and if you look, once again, with certain handwriting, a lowercase f, how it would loop round, would look similar to an 8. And 9 is P. This one's quite obvious. It's the idea if you would flip the 9 around, it would look like a P. What I'd recommend at this point is pausing the video. Now, this I haven't come up with. This major system can be found replicated across all different websites, all different books. It has not changed, and it can't change because this is the system people use. So if you're using M for 2, it just simply doesn't work because now your goalposts are different to someone else's. So we keep the system how it's always been, kind of like a martial arts, adapting it to real world application. So how do we use this for numbers? Well, let's take that long digit number. So it started with 22. So what we picture is a none because we've got n. And you see we make a word using a vowel with the U. But you need to go further. You need to picture a none. And I picture Mr. Bean. Okay? So the idea is this image is comical, it's humorous, and so it won't leave your mind. So when I see 22, I think of none. We then have 302. Now the really key thing with this method is that you don't take individual numbers, you actually chunk them. And we've talked about chunking in the past, the idea of taking information and breaking it down into smaller sections. So 302 was quite nice. It actually stands for MSN. And that's where I found my first ever girlfriend, which was on MSN. It's also where I got my first heartbreak. Next image, we had 4829. Once again, it means nothing to us, but it's actually RFNP. So I think of a soldier in the Royal Air Force taking a nap. Okay, these visual images and actually stringing it all together. So we've got a nun who's on MSN speaking to a Royal Air Forceman who's taken a nap. So specificity is the secret of remembering long digits of numbers. You may think, Jordan, that's so much detail, so much time taken to create those images. However, that is the real secret to remembering long digits of numbers. So, recall the numbers again. So the images we had a nun, we had MSM, and we had a Royal Air Force soldier taking a nap. What were the numbers? I'll give you a moment to pause the video now and just kind of recall those three images and break it down. You had two N's, you then had MSM, and then you had RFNP. Okay, hopefully there's been enough time. Maybe you paused it and you've now written them down. Let's see how well you did this time. So, none, 22. MSM, it is what it says on the tin, 302. And finally, with that 4829. So let's recall the numbers one more time. Hopefully now you don't even need that much time. Hopefully you can now be like 22, 302, Royal Air Force. So we have 4, then we have F8, NAP 2, and of course P, which is 9. And this was the number that you saw at the very beginning. So it's this idea that just take it. Like I said, I gave you 30 seconds. Maybe you did come up with some sort of strategy. But when you see a number, simply chunk it into 2, 3, 4 bits and then associate it to the major system, creating a story. So take it slow at the beginning. Test yourself with how well you know the major system first. Do this for the next couple of days. Simply go about, and when you see the time, be like, okay, what would that be? That would be an N, that would be an L, or 4, R, and work like that. So once you are really confident that that's become semantic, so remember semantic memory, that's cement, something that's just hardcore facts. Then get used to chunking numbers between sets of 2 to 9 using the chunking method. So you're looking at a series of numbers, something bigger than 2 digits, and you're starting to chunk them. Maybe it's 2 and 2, or maybe it's 3 and 4. And the great thing with this method is you can practice everywhere. Practicing with license plates, practicing with people's numbers, practicing on your phone, constantly with seeing numbers. And with all these techniques you can use on a daily basis. Make that little bit of effort and see large results.